Let me start with a story. When I was in high school, we got a puppy. His name was Jackie. As you can see in the picture, he's there with my mom and with his dad, Johnny. So yeah, we're very creative with our names for pets back then, right? So this story about Jackie is something that I think we can all really take something away from. So when Jackie was a puppy, he had some stomach issues, and so we had to feed him some kind of a pill so that it would settle his stomach. And at the first attempt, my mom was holding Jackie in her arms, and she was kind of trying to hold his mouth open. And my sister had this pill that was hidden inside a piece of bread, and she was trying to stuff this bread into Jackie's mouth, right? Animals have a good sense of when things don't, look right. So he struggled quite a lot. And as a result of the struggle, he fell out of my mom's arms onto the kitchen floor. In that struggle, the bread fell out of my sister's hands and the pill fell out of the bread. Okay, so now on the kitchen floor, you have Jackie, the bread, and the pill. And guess what happens next? He walks up to the pill, sniffs it, laps it up, swallows it. That's the first thing he eats. Then he goes for the bread. Okay, so what's the message here? The message is, and this applies to us educators very much, let us not hide what we think is good for the students, right? In this piece of bread, let us present it as it is. Let us tell them this is good for you. You should have it, right? So this is the kind of, thank you. So my time is up. Right. So this is the kind of philosophy that I took when I started my first job as an assistant professor at Oklahoma State University. I wanted to be the kind of teacher who makes it very clear, very simple, whatever the complex things are in life. And that worked very well for me. So I got a number of teaching awards. I had a great relationship with my students, as you can see in the pictures. It was a lot of fun. And the whole idea there was to look at complex things, try to make them as simple as possible, present them in the simplest way, and hope that people appreciate it, right? So as this was going on, as I was getting all these teaching awards, a colleague of mine joked at one point when I got the Regents Distinguished Teaching Award, which is the highest teaching award that the university offered. And he said, look, if you're doing so well on teaching, you're definitely not going to get tenure and promotion at Oklahoma State University. And I laughed. I thought he was just joking. And next year, I got the news that my research performance, despite getting a prestigious National Science Foundation grant, was not up to par, which in retrospect, I agree. I had 0 journal papers in the 5 years leading up to submitting my papers for tenure. So, when the introductions were made, there were these 40 papers that I have published and all the achievements. Nobody gives an introduction saying, this guy did not get tenure in his first job, right? So, but that's the truth. And I think our failures can really help us understand. This was a big failure. It's the biggest failure a person can have in an academic job is to be denied tenure and promotion. Because in the US system, if you're not tenured and promoted, you have to look for another job. You get 1 year, you have to get out because they don't permit you to stay. So it's pretty serious, right? But in the middle of this failure, I think it helped me understand what my true passion was, right? Yes, I have published many papers. Yes, I'm not anti-research. I definitely think research has a good place in academia, of course. But for me, getting into the profession of teaching was for teaching. In fact, I still call it profession of teaching, not academia, because that was my passion. And that's what really came to light. That became visible to me, right? As a young assistant professor, I realized that, yes, I can do this, but I really am passionate about student development, teaching, spending time with students, making sure they are successful. So based on that, I made the transition then from Oklahoma State to Arizona State University in Phoenix, Arizona, which is very hot, as you can see from my dashboard from the car, the picture, 122 Fahrenheit outside. It's very hot. And it helped me continue this idea of focusing on the students, because even though Arizona State University is more, better known for its research than Oklahoma State University, I was at a satellite campus called back then it was called the East Campus, eventually it was called the Polytechnic Campus. But that campus had the College of Technology and Innovation. And at CTI, the focus entirely was on student development, right? The entire campus was built around that. It was not, in fact, our dean once famously said, I don't care about how many papers you publish. Show me the one student that came in with, who was underprepared and you did something to make their life successful. That's how we measured success at CTI. So I had a number of great years in Phoenix and at ASU and CTI until one day, in their wisdom, ASU decided to close down the College of Technology and Innovation. Okay, so here I am, now I'm at a crossroads. Should I go up for, because I joined again as an assistant professor, so I had to go up for tenure and promotion once again. And I was at a crossroads to say, well, do I actually try my luck again now that CTI is closed and now we are merged with the flagship engineering school, which has much higher standards for research and, research funding and things like that. And I said, let's give it a try, right? In the meantime, I continued to do the things that I was passionate about, that I really cared about. So I continued to volunteer for IEEE, for the American Society for Engineering Education, for an organization called IUCEE, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. But so I went ahead and I said, okay, let's take the chance, right? What can happen? I can either get tenure and promotion and live in Phoenix, which we really enjoyed as a city very much, or I could be denied tenure and promotion, and I could be the first person that I know of out of 400, 500 academics that I'm in touch with who was denied tenure and promotion twice, not once. Okay, so I submitted my file and said, let's see what happens. And guess what? A year later, denied tenure and promotion again. Okay, so, but again, in all of that, the message was very clear. And the point I'm trying to make here is that I continued to follow what my passion was, right? I had simplified my life down to, okay, these are the things I care about. This is what I want to put my time into. And as a result of doing that, I had made an amazing network in my professional societies, right? IEEE, ASEE, as well as through IUCEE. And because of that network, the moment the news came out that I had been denied tenure, I had people calling me up and saying, would you like to join my university? Right? Which was quite amazing, right? Here, on the one hand, in this one moment, I've been denied tenure the second time, and it's the most terrible thing that can happen to you. It's happened to me twice now. And the next day, I started getting calls saying, why don't you come and join our university? So as a result of that, there was a transition then from Phoenix, Arizona to the opposite end of the climate or weather spectrum, which is Milwaukee, where you can see the snow now instead of 122 Fahrenheit. And so I went to the Milwaukee School of Engineering, where my values, my passion really resonated with the entire institution. So not like at ASU, where it was the College of Technology and Innovation, which suddenly went away one day, but the entire institute, all of MSOE, is based on student centricity, student development, caring about student learning, and building the entire environment around that, right? So this sort of opportunity was amazing for me because not only did they give me a job, right, which was definitely something I needed, but they hired me as a full professor, right? So in the scheme of things, you have assistant, associate, and then you have full. And generally, it takes about 14 years for somebody to get to full. And here I was, 14 years after entering academia, a full professor at Milwaukee School of Engineering. So totally caught up on the career gap there. And at a place where they cared about what I wanted to do, right? So that alignment was there between my values and the values of MSOE. So another thing that I wanted to bring up is that MSOE is one of the most professional places I've ever worked at. It's just excellence is the norm there. And these sound like cliches, but I mean, it's truly there. I experienced that. So I mentioned I had won a number of teaching awards in my prior stints. When I went to MSOE, the first term that I taught there, my teaching evaluations were below the average of MSOE, below the average. I ended up meeting Prashant at the IUCE Leadership Summit, and I understood that this is a person who is unlike everybody else that was gathered there, right? He's values driven. He understands what quality means, which is uniquely missing in a lot of the other institutions that we work with. And in that process, it started becoming clear that if we were ever to move back to India, there would be a few places that would be the perfect fit, right? And MSOE and HITAM have so much in common. It is quite unbelievable how similar the two institutions are. Size-wise, they are similar. Aspirations-wise, they are similar. Values-wise, they are similar, right? So when I look at things like social consciousness, integrity, student centricity, those are the things that I really cared about. And that's the reason why I thought this would be the next step in my life. And so it was very, very, it's a great thing that MSOE and HITAM, not accidentally, right, were trying to partner up. It was all through IUC, it was all through personal connections that we had made between Prashant, myself, Surendra, who else was there? Vamsi was there, part of that. So we all got together and we made it happen that MSOE and HITAM would work together. And as part of that conversation, on this day, actually, the day this photograph was taken, I had my first conversation with Prashant about potentially leaving MSOE and coming to HITAM to work here in some capacity. Okay. So I'm very happy to be here at HITAM. And you can see again in some of the images that I have, the student centricity that we have, the values that drive us, and the activities that result from those values. And so it's been a joy working here. It's been just 8 months, but I feel like I've been here longer than that. And looking at these pictures, hearing my life story so far, you probably have forgotten about Jackie, right? So I'll bring up Jackie once more as I come to my conclusion, and I'll give you another story with Jackie, right? So 1998 is when I graduated with my bachelor's and went straight off to the US, right? Jackie was still in India. And 1999, December, after a year and a half away, I came back to India for my first visit. Okay. Everybody knew that he was going to get wild and he was going to jump on me. So they tied him up to this wrought iron bench that was in our veranda. It's like a 50-pound bench. And, they thought that that would be good enough, right? So he was on the leash. Leash was tied to the bench. When my bus was still a mile away, and this my mom told me later on, when the bus was still a mile away, he started jumping up and down on that bench. He knew somehow that invisible force, right, was there. He sensed somehow that I was there. And as I got out of the bus and opened my gate and started walking down the driveway, he pulled that 50-pound wrought iron bench halfway across the driveway to come and meet me. Okay. And he held on to my hand for a half an hour, would not let go. Okay. So why am I telling you about Jackie other than he's my favorite pet that I ever had? The thing is, what can we learn from Jackie or any pet or any child for that matter, right? And that essence of what I'm trying to tell you is that Jackie knew what he wanted. He was very simple, right? I mean, as a dog, he didn't have too many choices, but, he knew what was good, right? He would get excited about his food. He would get excited about going for a walk. He would be very excited about spending time with us. That's it. That was his life. And what can we learn from that? That life is simple, right? We complicate it with so many things that cloud what we really care about. And if we can make that visible by moving those clouds away and really focus on the things that matter to us, we can have a happy and content life like Jackie did. Thank you for your attention. It's been my pleasure.